Let's go through the hip drops because it seems to be a growing issue in the sense that what is a hip drop, what is sin binnable and what is not. Let's start with the Jermaine Hopgood one. Yeah. The hip drop for, obviously he went to the sin bin for that. Do you think that this was a bit tough or is this completely fine?
Well, the landscape's changed fine. I think a couple of weeks ago we look at that and go, yeah, look, it is a bit tough because, Brendan Hands falls off the tackle and then Hopgood lunges late and he's just trying to bring down Pakes to stop him from scoring a try. His body weight, this one shows it here where he loses his legs. Now, from what we've seen the last couple of weeks, that is a sin bin offence. It might look light, but that's where the game's going.
Which is fine if that's the standard and we're consistent with it.
It wasn't until I saw that other angle that I realised that he'd thrown both his feet off the ground to put pressure on the back of the leg just to bring the player down. Now, that's where we are at the moment. When I first saw it, I thought, no, that doesn't look like a hip drop. He was dragged sideways to make the tackle and he was falling behind the player. But when you spin it around and look at the other angle, there's definitely, not this angle, that just looks like a normal tackle for me. But when we spin it round, both feet, both feet come up in the air and makes the decision to come down. That's where we are. You can't leave the ground.
The criteria, the feet leaving the ground.
2 feet can't leave the ground to transfer your weight onto the back of the player. If that's what a hip drop is.
We've gone from what we thought the hip drop was, and you're hearing a lot of people say we're confused about this. It was when 2 tacklers were over the top locking up the ball carrier and another defender came in with that almost seatbelt grip around their hips and pulled all their weight back over the top onto the back of their legs. That was the Carrigan one on Jackson Hastings.
That's right.
Was the prime example of that.
Absolutely.
It's now evolved into that, where you can get beaten for footwork and strength, and then all of a sudden, as that player accelerates through you, and you end up behind the player and you're trying to bring them to the ground. I think the game wants you to use your arms to slide down in that old conventional tackle and wrap their legs.
So you must keep your feet.
Rather than trying... Yeah, that's the key.
You can't intentionally take both feet off the ground and land on the back of the legs of the player. But there's hip drops and there's hip drops, different types. And
So was Ezra Mams a garden variety hip drop?
Well, no, but this is the tackle that we see. And look, we had Luke Keary in here a couple of weeks and he said, I might do 3 or 4 of these a game where you are dragged by a bigger man and you're holding on and you're trying to keep your feet, look, feet on the ground, then that one comes up off the ground as he slides down the back of his legs. That seems so tough a decision to be wearing 10 minutes for that. See, that's the one Ezra Mam is the one that I think, well, that's almost unavoidable because of the force of Matt Dury running. He's dragging him backwards and I don't know if Ezra makes a conscious decision to put both feet up on the ground. You watch, he's just trying to keep his foot on the ground, still searching for the ground, but because of the force and the power of Dury, a little man can't do that sometimes. So there's no intent there.
No.
There's intent, but that's where we are.
Intent in Jermaine Hopgood's.
No.
There's no intent of it, but the word that they're going to keep throwing at us and the game expects is duty of care. The duty of care of the player. But I've been in that position 1,000 times. I'm sure you have, Brandy, where you're up against a person that's far superior in terms of their physical strength than you, the one with Ezra Mam. I know we'll get to this one in a minute, the Payne Haas one. But where you go in... Now, if Ezra Mam comes out of the line and puts full contact into Matt Dury and they play out the back, he gets penalised. He can't make that decision. As a half, it is such an incredibly important and difficult position on the field to defend, where he has to be able to defend that lead runner these days and also be able to manage, if they play out the back, to be able to get across and cover. So his body position means that he has to come off the line and hold. Now, in doing that, that allows Dury to get a head of steam up, and so naturally he gets dragged backwards. And so, therefore, all he's trying to do is hold on and somehow bring Dury to the ground. And in doing so, he gets towed along and loses his feet because he's trying to pull him to the ground and ends up in this position that we're looking at the moment, which is what they're deeming a hip drop. I think it's completely different to where we've started with and I know we use the Carrigan one with Jackson Hastings as the absolute extreme, but
they're not the same.
But no.
But they're all going under the umbrella now of hip drop. And they're completely different tackles. And
so
now we're seeing players spend 10 minutes in the sin bin.
Yeah, whether you mean it or not, whether it's intentional or not, if you end up on the back of the legs of a player,
you're gone.
You're in trouble.
Well, you're not, though, because Payne Haas did.
Well, yeah.
And why was this not a sin bin?
You know what? I don't know what I think about that tackle. Payne came from the inside. Campbell Gillard's going for the line. Yes, he did launch himself and try and swing around the back of...
He makes contact with the leg?
Yeah, but you see, Campbell Gillard ducks under him there, Von.
Goes under him.
He goes to tackle him over the ball. Campbell Gillard lowers his body position, goes under him, and Payne's reaction is to try and stop him from scoring the try. Watch, he ducks under that arm there, so he ends up sliding around. All his body weight, yes, it does come down on the legs. It does come down on the legs, and Campbell Gillard looked to be in a significant pain. And hearing Jake Duke, there's a groin injury there, which is really, really unfortunate. And I think if we're going down the path that we're going down, then Payne's in some trouble.
Payne goes to make the tackle and he ducks under his right arm. So his right arm miss goes over the top of Campbell Gillard's head. And we're getting very technical here, but well,
his only way he can go there is his weight goes.
So his
back
weight gets swung around. So his body position changes.
He can't let
even
go
though there's the
let go.
He scores a try if he lets him go. Yeah.
So he holds him with his left arm, which pulls him around the back of Campbell Gillard.
But there's contact to the back of the legs. There's weight coming down on the back
of the legs.
So if you go through the things that they are looking at, well, that's, so Payne might be in trouble.
So the match review committee, I think we really need black and white.
I don't think we can.
We can't get it.
I don't think we won't get black and white with it. Yeah. We will not. Yeah. It's a snap decision by the bunker to go, OK, 10 minutes, because I don't think any of those were picked up by the referee. They weren't. It was a bunker going back to the play. Two plays had gone on. Bunker had looked at the tackle and got a message down to the referee to say that there was a hip drop tackle, and we went back to the mark.
But the frustrating thing for fans that are sitting at home, well, they're seeing the Hopgood one, they're seeing the Ezra Mann one, and if it's the bunker that's finding these, then what are they seeing with the Payne Haas one?
Maybe they're seeing what we just saw.
The accident in it.
Yeah. But then
you can argue that all three of them were an accident.
Well, yeah.
So I mean, I think we're going to see a huge focus from the clubs to try and alleviate these situations and try and find a different way to be able to manage that type of tackle. And I think the only way to do it, like in Hopgood's case, is to actually just keep sliding down there with your hands and leave your legs to drag from behind.
So you just get towed along.
Well, that's right. That's your choice.
That's what they're asking.
Hopgood's trying to get him to ground, and both of those, that play was near the try line as well. So you're trying to get him to ground as quickly as possible. The
reason they throw their legs off is because it's a reaction to try and pull them and get as much weight to bring the player down physically as quick as possible to stop them scoring a try or making a line break.
Yeah, see, Regan Campbell-Gillard was unfortunate there where slippery ground, his knees hit the ground and one leg went one way and the other one stayed there. So he did the splits. And then you throw Payne's weight on the top of it, and that's why he's got a groin problem.
And it's different. Like when you look at the high shots too, like there's just no intent from any of the players there to do anything nasty. But like when you see a player come out of the line with their fists clenched like they used to look for, and all those different rulings and technicalities that we used to hear about high shots, in terms of intent and gradings on that, like there's just none of that, which is hard because you watch those players and you go, it's just an accident. Yeah, it's just an accident.
Yeah. But so there would have been 1,000 accidents over the last 50 years, where players have just ended up on the backs of legs. It wasn't until around 2020, 2019, where we saw the three-man tackle with the hip drop coming in as the third man. So you'd have two players holding a player up. He wasn't moving. Yep. It wasn't momentum taking the player, dragging him forward, and it was an intentional lift of the legs, body weight, bang, down on the back of and that was the tackle where everyone went, hang on, that's not right. You're breaking ankles, or you're doing ankle ligaments just to get a player down illegally. Now we're into this. Now we're into players being dragged along, little players, little men doing their best and ending up on the backs of bigger legs players.
Ending up in the sin bin, which changes the landscape of a game. In an 80-minute game, if we've got 2 sin bins, potentially
Parramatta
3...
scored straight away. Yeah. Parramatta weren't in the game at all. As soon as Ezra Mann went off, they scored the next set.
So what's the solution?
I don't know. I don't know if there is one. I don't know how you backtrack now. So what do they say? Well, hang on, the sin bins are getting ludicrous. How do we peel it back and get to where we were last year? Was there were we just not looking last year?
I think this.
Honestly, this isn't a rush.
In our game for
this isn't a rush of players now having a new way to tackle people.
The tackle of Hopgood and Mam has been in the game
forever.
I can remember forever.
Forever.
The one you're talking about, the one I spoke about as soon as we came on tonight about the 3-man tackle.
2019, 2020.
Was exactly what you said. Was spot on. That was the one we wanted to get rid of. We won't ever get rid of that. We can't get rid of that in our game.
No, there's no way he does anything different there. Doesn't matter what they do at training. Ezra Mann grabs a player around the waist and is pulled forward, just dragged along. There isn't anything he can do apart from let go. And that's not happening.
Which is unforgivable.
Well, that's not happening.
You just never can. Well, rugby league is a very resilient game. We run into these miniature crises every so often. We're seeing the sin bins as a result, but we will work our way out of it somehow, some way. The game will find a way.